home cooking was just the right tonic for the Reds last night as they opened their homestand with a convincing win. Tonight, the Reds face a former Cy Young Award winner in hopes of continuing their run of success against the Milwaukee Brewers. Game 2 next. It is another perfect weather night in downtown Cincinnati, and we welcome you to Great American Ballpark for Game 2 of this 3-game series between division rivals. The Brewers in town to take on the Reds. And earlier today, not a surprise at all, Jay Bruce named the National League's Player of the Week, probably the first of 2 awards. I would imagine tomorrow Jay Bruce will be named the National League's Player of the Month. Oh, and by the way, a lineup change tonight for Dusty Baker. Bruce now batting in the cleanup spot. And hi again, everybody. Alongside Chris Welsh, I'm Tom Brenneman. Welcome, as always, to Reds Baseball. We'll talk more about Jay Bruce later. But first things first, another new pitcher on the mound tonight for the Reds.
Well, he's new to the Reds anyway. He's had some Major League experience before. We're talking about a big guy who went to Miami University of Ohio here, Chad Reineke. Chad Reineke's had a very good season so far down in AAA. He impressed in spring training. He continued what he started in Goodyear, Arizona for Rick Sweet in AAA. He's a guy that doesn't throw hard. He'll only top out about 89, 90 miles an hour, but he's got a good sinking fastball, real good curveball, and a nice changeup. They expect him to come right out throwing strikes tonight, but he is facing a former Cy Young Award winner in Zach Greinke. Greinke's only 3-1 on the year because he started the year on the disabled list. He broke a rib playing basketball in the offseason. That sent him back, but this guy is a real deal. He's got a great slider. He struck out 10 his last time out, and he's throwing the ball very well.
We'll find out how it goes here tonight. We know when the Reds have had leads, they have a quintet down there that have been protecting those leads. Relief, we'll talk about it when we return. We're still about 5 minutes away from game time on a beautiful weather night in downtown Cincinnati. What about the rest of the night? Let's check in with Michelle Boudelet.
It'll be a warm night for the ball game. First pitch, 90 degrees with partly cloudy skies. 80s by the 7th inning stretch. Slim chance for an isolated shower or thunderstorm, but dry by the end of the game. Still in the 80s, around 83.
All right, Michelle, thank you very much. That's good news. And how about these Reds relievers, Chris Welsh? How good have they been, this quintet?
Well, despite being overworked, they've been very, very good. You see over the last 4 games, 10 in the 3rd innings for the relievers. Andrusic, Bill Bray, Jose Arredondo, Nick Masset, and Francisco Cordero, all very good earned run averages. This really gives Dusty Baker some level of comfort, even though they've run so many pitchers in and out of there over the last 10 days or so, Tom. When you give the lead to these guys at the very end of the bullpen, you can pretty much put it in a book because they have been lights out.
All right. It'll be the Reds' debut for Chad Reineke from Defiance, Ohio. First pitch right around the corner. Ford dealer, Ford Drive One by the Regional Tourism Network. Book your trip at CincinnatiUSA.com, and by Skyline. Whenever you're feeling good and hungry, it's Skyline time. Reds and the Brewers, game 2 of this 3-game series from Great American Ballpark. Brewers stack them up this way. They have Ricky Weeks, Corey Hart, Ryan Braun. Prince Fielder, the cleanup hitter. Casey McGee at third. Jonathan Lucroy catching. Betancourt, Morgan, and Greinke, the latter third. Chad Reineke, his Reds debut, and his first pitch, a strike in his game, is underway. Told you earlier, Reineke grew up in Defiance, Ohio. And there you get a look at his career numbers. He has only pitched in a total of 5 major league games, 4 of them as a starter. And that's in the air, foul ground, rolling over near the stands and runs out of room. The last time Reineke pitched in a major league game, he got to go back to 2009 with Oakland. And it was only 1 game in an A's uniform. He made 3 starts, appearing in 4 games for San Diego in 2008. Chad pitched at Ayersville High School in Defiance, Ohio. In fact, we'll see another native of Defiance, Ohio, when the Dodgers come rolling in over the weekend. Their right-hander Chad Billingsley, a Defiance native. The So what do we look for from Chad Reineke?
Well, you saw his height and weight. He's a big guy, 6 feet 6 inches tall, but he does not correspondingly throw at an overpowering fastball. You just saw maybe his best fastball right around 90 miles an hour. He'll sink it, he'll run it. He's got a nice cutter and a good curveball. To left-handers, to keep them off the fastball, he'll mix in some changeups. But overall, he's a control pitcher. He'd much rather have a hitter hit his pitch rather than swing and miss his pitch. Even by minor league standards, does not have a lot of strikeouts this year.
Reineke in the minor leagues, both with the Astros organization, in the San Diego organization, and Oakland, has been bouncing back and forth between a starter and a reliever. He'll retire Ricky Weeks to begin the game on a ground ball to Renteria. We take a look at the Reds on defense, presented by Ford. Same outfield we saw last night. The only change in the infield, it's Renteria at short. And behind the plate, Ramon Hernandez working with Chad Reineke. Reineke was having an outstanding year so far this year for the Louisville Bats. 5-2 record among the league leaders with a very low 2.5 ERA. That ball in the air to right, and room for Jay Bruce. Corey Hart retired on one pitch, and they're 2 away in the first inning.
Now, we saw last night the ball really flying out of Great American Ballpark once those temperatures get over 90 degrees, and it was well over 90 today. And Corey Hart thinking, hey, I'll just loft one up there towards right and see what happens. Once that ball starts getting into right center field, left center field, it is really jumping.
Well, the first 2 retired by Reineke, and now he turns his attention to Ryan Braun. 12 home runs and 39 runs batted in. He had an RBI double here last night in a Reds series opening 7-3 victory. Reds have won 12 of the last 13 games against this Milwaukee team, including 6 in a row here at Great American Ballpark. 2-0 to Braun. Reineke, originally a 13th round draft choice in 2004 out of Miami by the Houston Astros. And he's going to have a 1-2-3 first inning in his Cincinnati debut. Good start for Chad Reineke. So now the Reds go toe-to-toe with Zach Greinke. No score. And Dusty Baker has made a lineup change tonight. Stubbs, Phillips, and Votto at the front, but Jay Bruce red hot now batting behind Votto with Roland dropped to the 5-hole. Johnny Gomes in left will bat 6th. With a latter third of Edgar Renteria, Ramon Hernandez, and Reineke. And on the mound won a Cy Young Award a couple of years ago with Kansas City. Came over in a deal from the Royals during the offseason. Zach Greinke.
Originally from Orlando, Florida, in his 8th year as a major league pitcher, and he compiled some pretty bodacious numbers, especially when it comes to innings pitched and strikeouts in the American League. He's a guy that you can pretty much depend on giving you at least 200 innings, but he got off to a slow start this year due to an injury that he sustained before spring training. He signed a deal with the Brewers and ended up hurting himself playing basketball, broke a rib, and that set him back. But since he's hit the pavement running here in Milwaukee, he's run up a 3-1 record. They've been scoring a lot of runs in his support when he takes the mound.
Bruce Stubbs to lead it off. He did not start the game here last night. Came on for the final inning as a defensive replacement. He looks at ball 1. Greinke completely dominated the Reds in a game during interleague play with the Royals last June. That ball hit hard and tailing away from Nyjer Morgan. And this will be extra bases, maybe 3 of them for Stubbs. He'll stop at second with a leadoff double.
Boy, you just hope that 1 day off, or actually maybe 3/4 of a day off for Drew Stubbs, because he did come into the ball game last night, will rejuvenate him a little bit. He just looked like he was really getting worn out, and he gets a fastball down and puts a good swing on it to get the Reds going with a double.
In the game last year pitching for the Royals, it was right here at Great American Ballpark. Greinke, a complete game winner in a 7-3 decision. He allowed 5 hits, 3 runs, a couple of home runs. He did not walk a batter and struck out 12 Reds. Now Brandon Phillips, an even 300 batter, 5 home runs, 30 batted in. Shows bunt, takes a breaking ball away. Apparently fielder not buying in to Phillips bunting here. He's still 2-3 steps behind the bag at first and playing well off the line. Another breaking ball, and again Phillips with a good eye. It squared around and pulled the bat away. 2-0. Now do you consider taking the bunt off if indeed it ever was on? Two and one.
Well, Zach Greinke looking for a strikeout, and you can see that he has struck out a lot of batters this season already. 28 innings, 39 strikeouts, and only 3 bases on balls. You talk about some serious control. He's got right now a 13-to-1 strikeout to ball ratio. Now, keep in mind he's only started a handful of games. He doesn't have 10 starts under his belt like everybody else who's been healthy all year long in this league. But still, here's a guy that with great stuff, throws strikes. You better be up there ready to swing the bat.
2-1 on Phillips. Squares around again, and every time he is squared around, Greinke has missed a strike zone. 3-1.
Got a lot of movement on his fastball. He'll throw a 4-seamer maybe up to around 95, 96 miles an hour when he wants to, but his cruise control speed is somewhere around 92 with a nice little 2-seam fastball, plenty of run.
Brandon was swinging 2-0. Will he be swinging 3-1? And the answer is yes. That's a line drive, and they won't double up Stubbs.
Well, that's why Prince Fielder didn't buy into the bunt. Maybe he had a feeling it was coming his way.
Let's take a look at our Farmers Insurance report card on Joey Votto. Look at the numbers in the first 25 games. In the last 29 games, he's walked 11 times in the last week. And leads all of Major League Baseball in walks, but not nearly the power, not nearly as many runs batted in.
Well, you wonder if the reason why Dave Bruce is now in the number 4 spot behind Joey Votto is because the opposition is walking Votto to pitch to Roland. And Scott, if he's still scuffling with a bad shoulder, or if you're a right-handed pitcher and you see Votto up there, and then you see a right-hander on deck. No matter who the right-hander on deck is, you're thinking, hey, I'll let the reigning MVP go to first base on a base on balls. I'll take my chances with the next guy. That's why Dusty Baker has Jay Bruce in there behind him tonight.
Brewers really shifting their infield defense to the left-handed batting Votto. They play him as a pull hitter. In the outfield, they play him to hit it the other way. Right at Morgan. So after a leadoff double, a line out by Phillips, a fly ball by Votto, and Stubbs still stays at second. There are 2 outs in the inning. Milwaukee on defense, brought to you by Ford. Nyjer Morgan to start in center field tonight in place of Carlos Gomez. Same infield we saw last night. And again, Lucroy behind the plate. Well, now the question is, rather than Joey Votto, you have a left-handed batting Jay Bruce up there. Do they give him much to hit with a right-handed hitter waiting on deck? First pitch breaking ball away.
If you go by stats alone, Tom, if you've had 5 starts like Greinke has and he only has 3 walks, he's not afraid to throw to anybody. I mean, he's coming right after everybody in that lineup.
Told you earlier, Jay today named the National League's Player of the Week. And there's a liner into center field, and the beat goes on. They're going to wave around Stubbs. He will score, and Jay Bruce delivers again. His National League leading 44th run batted in. He leads the National League in every major offensive category here in the month of May, and today the final day of it.
What was Dusty Baker saying about Jay Bruce the other way? Don't wake him up. And he is just locked in and locked, loaded, and just solid swing right there. You know, I guess the difference between a guy like Jay Bruce, when he's going bad and going good, is he's simply not fouling off those pitches that are left over the middle of the plate. I mean, sometimes the hitter gets the pitch to hit, and he misses it. And you may only get one in and at bat. But he has not missed them at all. I mean, you put a ball down the center of the dish, and Jay Bruce is all over with a line drive somewhere.
That was the exact thing that made the run Barry Bonds had. And regardless of how you feel about Bonds, it truly was the most astounding part of that run he had with all those MVP awards. He was walking 140, 150, 170 times a year. Most at bats wouldn't get a single pitch to hit. But when he got it, it seemed as though he never missed it.
I mean, he got 2 pitches in a game, and they would both be home runs. Great example, actually, on the second last pitch, not the one you just saw there by Greinke, but the one previous to that, the 0-1 fastball, pretty much thigh high down the middle. Roland had a good swing at it, but he fouled it back. He's not locked in the way Bruce is. You give Bruce that same pitch, and you see a line drive somewhere. Ride it while you can.
1 ball, 2 strike pitch on Roland. And a check swing Roller to stay alive. That entire right side of the infield, and we've seen Roland hit the ball the other way frequently, especially with 2 strikes in and at bat. Is pretty much completely vacant. We'll keep you up to date on the Cardinals. They're just underway in game 2 of their 4-game series against the defending world champion Giants. San Francisco winning last night 7-3. Roland does hit it with authority the other way, and a nice running catch made by Hart to end the inning. But the Reds get a run on another RBI from Jay Bruce and lead 1-0. Serious injuries. Call 1-800-ELK-OHIO. How about Jay Bruce this month? And those numbers include his RBI tonight.
I would say player of the month, hands down, running away with it and looking at everybody else in the rearview mirror.
I don't think there's any debate about it.
And for a guy that's struggled in the month of April, it just goes to show you how you can turn things around and forget all about what happened in that first month of the season.
So the Reds have staked young Chad Reineke to a 1-0 lead. And he's facing Prince fielder Casey McGee and Jonathan Lucroy after a 1-2-3 first inning. 2-0. Big fella checks in at 291, 11 home runs. He came to town yesterday as the league leader in runs batted in with 42. Was 3 in front of Jay Bruce, but Jay knocked in 3 last night, 1 more already tonight. 3-0 to Fielder. And Fielder loves hacking 3-0. You lay one in there, he'll hit it to the Commonwealth.
He nearly hit one out of the stadium in batting practice. He went to the very top row in the sun deck out there in right field with a batting practice home run.
I don't think he thought much of that call by Eric Cooper. Now, Cooper is a guy who, if there is a known pitcher's umpire out there, Cooper would be one of those guys. Calls a lot of strikes. Hooked into right center field, and Stubbs got a good jump. Rest of the umpiring crew: Tim Timmons at first, Mark Carlson at second, and Jeff Kellogg, the umpire, at third. So 4 in a row set down by Reineke, and here's Casey McGee, the third baseman. .251 the batting average for McGee. Picked up off the scrap heap from another Central Division rival, the Chicago Cubs, and he knocked in over 100 runs as their everyday third baseman for the first time in his career a year ago. Over a full year. That's where Reineke wants to live. You talked about him earlier, Chris, known as a ground ball guy. Here you see the numbers. McGee took over about halfway through the 09 year. And that's a swing and a miss, and the bat goes flying, and McGee will chase it down, headed back to the dugout.
Well, so far so good for Chad Reineke. He's been able to mix in that little sinking fastball, then throw a cutter. That's what that pitch, maybe that's a changeup right there. I'm not sure. He's got a, that's more of a cutter. He's got a curveball, too, that he'll drop in there from time to time. But the cutter is a pitch that will oftentimes resemble a slider. Changing speeds on it has Casey McGee way out in front.
That's our Performance Honda Exmo. Strike one to Jonathan Lucroy. One and one on Lucroy, who's having a real good year after starting the season on the disabled list. That's a one hopper at Roland, and Reineke 6 up, 6 down. Reds back to the bat rack, leading 1-0. Pal McCoy right now for a live in-game chat. Get the latest on what's going on in Buckeye Nation. Fox Sports Ohio, presented by 1-800-SAFE-AUTO and safeauto.com. 1-0 lead for the Reds. A bat here in the bottom of the second inning. It'll be Johnny Gomes, Edgar Renteria, and Ramon Hernandez. Zach Greinke gave up some hard hit balls in that first inning. Stubbs with a double into left center. Phillips hit a rocket right at Prince Fielder. Bruce a liner into center field, and Roland drove hard to the wall in right field for the final out of the inning. Are we starting to see signs of Johnny Gomes busting out of nearly a 2-month slump?
Well, he hit a couple of hard line drives last night. I mean, he will still strike out even when he's hitting the ball well. But it's all about pitch selection for Johnny Gomes, and the deeper and deeper that he got into his slump, it seemed like the worse and worse pitches that he would chase. It's all about relaxing, trying to slow the game down, pitch recognition early on, and not feel like you have to do too much in your first at bat.
4-pitch walk to Gomes to begin the second inning. I don't think he was getting to 4 pitches in an at bat for nearly a month.
I'll tell you, that is a very unusual at bat. I mean, we've seen a couple of them in this game already from Zach Greinke. Greinke had a hard time throwing Brandon Phillips some strikes. Here he walks Johnny Gomes on 4 pitches. This is a guy that in 5 games had only walked 3 batters total all year long.
Edgar Renteria looks at a strike. Edgar, a .231 batter with 10 runs driven in. Breaking ball in there, strike 2. Struck him out. Don't forget, the Reds begin a 3-game series over the weekend this Friday night against the Dodgers, and the series is presented by McDonald's. Friday night, Saturday afternoon, Sunday afternoon. 513-381 Reds, or visit Reds.com today. Again at 7:10 Friday night, 4:10 in the afternoon on Saturday. And then on Sunday, 1:10 first pitch. Bronson Arroyo, Johnny Cueto, Travis Wood. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Hiroki Kuroda for the Dodgers. Clayton Kershaw against Cueto. That is a great matchup Saturday. And Chad Billingsley opposing Travis Wood in the finale. Now Ramon Hernandez. Ball 1.
Well, what great numbers that Ramon Hernandez puts up at home. You know, I think a lot of hitters in this ballpark, especially Hernandez, who hits the ball so well the other way, just love hitting here because the ball carries so well. And you can hit a long fly ball opposite field in many stadiums. A lot of those stadiums are in the National League West, like in San Diego, Los Angeles, San Francisco, and you'll show nothing for it. But when you hit the ball like Hernandez does here, you get a little chip shot going the other way that goes for a home run. You step to the plate with a little different swagger.
1-0 on Hernandez. Gomes over at first, and they try inside again. It's low and in. 2-0. good month of May for Hernandez. Of course, the Brewers will not soon forget that one crack of the bat Hernandez had on opening day against their closer John Axford, when it looked like the Brewers, who had dominated the entire game, all of a sudden were left to wonder what happened. A game-ending 3-run home run inside the fair pole. Of course, the Reds swept the Brewers in that season-opening 3-game series, beat them 2 out of 3 in Milwaukee, and then won the opener here last night.
Yeah, the beatings have really continued. The Reds have really handled the Brewers this year. They've handled them very handily at home over the last few years.
Two and one on Hernandez, and Greinke to the plate. It's way outside.
What have the Brewers and the Reds done here in Cincinnati in the last 18 games? Well, the Reds have won 14. The Brewers have won 4. You can look at all the rest of the numbers, but the bottom line is up here in wins and losses.
Boy, that's a borderline strike at best there, called by Eric Cooper, and Hernandez can't believe it.
Well, he's set up inside, and that ball looks like it's outside and low, but our Fox Tracks has it right down at the bottom end of the strike zone.
Let's see if the Reds start a runner here. On a 3-2 count to Hernandez, who generally does put the ball in play. Gomes running on the ground, and they go to second, safe there. They'll get the out of Hernandez, and that's a second out of the inning. So it's a good thing they did start him, or else they'd have Reineke leading off the next inning.
Well, you're right. Hernandez does normally put the ball in play, and Greinke throws up a lot of ground ball double plays. Good play by McGee. He knows who's running. Ramon Hernandez, there's no speedster going down the line, so even if they don't get the man a second, chances are they can go all the way around the horn and still retire the runner, the batter runner.
Reineke at the big league level, 6 career at bats, has 1 hit and 1 RBI. Down a strike. Of course, in the minor leagues now, they play the games according to where the home team is playing, meaning what league they represent, if you will.
So if they play a game in Louisville, which is the Reds franchise National League team, the pitchers will bat. Well, they play, say, in Wilkes-Barre, which is a New York Yankees farm team, they'll use a DH. Very similar to what they do in spring training.
Reds leading 1-0. A runner at second is Johnny Gomes. 2 outs, and the 0-2 to the pitcher is a little bit low. A lot of the youngsters here tonight. Knot-hole baseball well represented again. The kid glove game.
Yeah, not only knot-hole baseball, but all amateur baseball and softball throughout the region. These kids are here tonight because they sold those kid glove tickets and turned them into ticket vouchers, and then they came in and turned them into tickets.
You have been very active in the kid glove program for many years.
There's Paul Kramer, and Paul Kramer's been more active than anybody in such a long time. He's the executive secretary of the kid glove games, and believe me, this organization stays together because of his efforts. But they raise about $300,000 a year in equipment. That equipment gets distributed back into the baseball community and softball community. So the kids have better equipment. You can order bases, baseballs, batting cages, bats. That's the best deal going. It really is. Kid goes out and sells an $8 ticket, turn it into a ticket to a Reds game, and In return, the next spring, your coach gets a whole bunch of equipment free.
Good stuff. Meanwhile, an 0-2 count has turned into a 3-2 count. And there's strike three, which will end the inning. A leadoff walk, but Greinke pitches around that. Reds in front, 1-0.
I just try to get better every day, and that's what I'm doing now, and I'm having a good time doing it.
So a Geico direct quote from Jay Bruce. He has plenty of reasons to smile here during the month of May. Of course, he has on his mind finishing in a strong fashion through the rest of this one and carrying that right into June and the remainder of the year. National League Player of the Week today. I'm not sure if they give the Player of the Month on the first day of the month or whether they get all the votes in and maybe wait to the second or third. Good start for Chad Reineke. Meanwhile, he has a 1-0 lead. He's retired the first 6 batters in this his Cincinnati Reds debut. Again, it is not, if you're just joining us, his major league debut. Pitched in 5 games with 4 starts. The most recent coming his only game as a big leaguer in 2009 with Oakland, and Renteria let that ball play him. And the runner will be at second base with nobody out.
Well, the ball was hit so slowly, you thought for a moment that he was going to charge the ball harder just to make sure that he was able to get Betancourt at first base. But when he came in and the ball comes off the grass, look how low that big high bounce there, and then this ball really low, and it went right through the wickets.
Renteria in very limited playing time by standards of his former big league career, being an everyday guy. He leads the club in errors. In just 30 games, and not all of them have been in the field, he has committed 6 errors. So now the runner at second, nobody out, and Nyjer Morgan the batter. You have the pitcher on deck. And there's a base hit that'll tie the game. So after the air, just like that, Morgan takes advantage of it, and it's a 1-1 affair.
Well, he had a bad swing on the first pitch. It was a little slow breaking ball down and in. Then he tried to come inside with a fastball. Morgan just kind of fights it off in the shallow left center field. That ball not hit very hard either, and Brewers end up tying the baby up.
Greinke with a home run. He has 2 hits so far this year. That home run came in his last start. An outing for Greinke was on Wednesday against Washington in a 6-4 win. He struck out 10, only walked 1. As we mentioned, the second home run of his career was a solo shot against Jason Marquis. Bunted foul, 1-1. Got to look at Ron Roenicke in his first year as the manager of these Milwaukee Brewers after working under Mike Scioscia in Anaheim for the better part of a decade as both a third base coach and later a bench coach. Of course, they've had a lot of success off that Mike Scioscia staff. Bud Black, of course, the reigning National League Manager of the Year with San Diego. He was on that staff with Ron. So too is Joe Madden, who has done a remarkable job in Tampa Bay with that franchise. And now Roenicke finally gets his chance to manage a major league team.
I got to tell you, I'm not a real big fan of how Zach Greinke is setting up the butt right here. He's got one of these, makes him very susceptible to the ball that's thrown right at him. I mean, there's no way you're getting out of the way. And he's going to have a hard time covering this part of the plate right here without really lunging at it.
Swings away and lets a fly ball into left. Morgan going to race back as though he's tagging. He will not dare think about that. 1 out in the inning. Going into play in the National League Central Division, our standings presented by Honda. Told you St. Louis lost the opener of a 4-game series to the Giants 7-3 last night. The Giants an early 1-0 lead in the second inning tonight. Reds gained the game on both Milwaukee and the Cardinals with a victory here last night. One game, we're in the third. And Ricky Weeks, who grounded out to Renteria leading off the game, looks at a breaking ball low. Runner goes, throw by Hernandez is not in time. Morgan, with a couple of lengthy trips on the disabled list, picks up just his second steal in 3 attempts.
Well, he got a big jump right here. He's got a good lead, and even though that's a very abbreviated move by Roenicke, Chad's not able to get the ball to Ramon Hernandez in enough time really to give the Reds catcher a chance to get the runner going in. He's fast. I mean, real fast.
Morgan carries a go-ahead run, and there's a base hit into left field, and it's bobbled out there by Gomes, but they had already held the runner at third base.
Now the ball was just zipped out there on a line drive, and it got to Johnny Gomes so quickly he could have double dribbled it 3 times and they wouldn't have sent the runner. It looks like, Tom, every hard hit ball that Chad Roenicke has given up has come off his fastball. Now, he still has to use his fastball, but he's had them off stride a little bit, at least the first time through the order with some of that off speed stuff. We could really use a double play ball right here.
Well, the inning began with a routine ground ball to short, weakly hit by Betancourt that went right through the legs of Edgar Renteria. Betancourt wound up at second. He scored on a hit by Morgan. And after retiring the pitcher, Morgan steals second, goes to third on a hit by Weeks, and it's ball 1 to Corey Hart. Told you Hart began the year on the disabled list. Tonight is playing in his 27th game. He has 4 home runs, but 3 of them came in one game last week against the Nationals. A game in which he knocked in 7 of the 10 RBIs he has collected so far since coming back.
Well, despite the fact that he's had those home runs in bunches, he is a legitimate home run hitter. After all, he hit 31 of them last year. So he's not a guy at the plate that you can just take lightly. I mean, they tease him away right there. My guess is that Reineke is going to use a little two-seam fastball inside and see if they can't get Corey Hart to roll over on it and get another ground ball out of him.
2-1. Weeks not running, and there's a swing and a miss. Pulled the string on him there.
That's the pitch that Reineke really wanted Corey Hart to hit, not swing and miss, because that's a great pitch right there. But Reineke at this level is not a strikeout pitcher. The problem is now he has seen that changeup, Corey Hart has, and you've got to come up with an equally as good pitch on this offering right here.
2-2 to Hart. Runners on the corners, 1 out. And that ball is hit hard in a deep left center field. Stubbs racing back to the wall, and it's out of here. A 3-run home run by Hart makes it a 4-1 Milwaukee lead here in the 3rd.
Just trying to change speeds after the changeup, trying to sneak a fastball by him, and he just got it out over the plate a little bit. 31 of them last year. That is number 5 this year for the Bowling Green native. He just goes down to get that bad boy and whacks it right out of here.
Rare celebration taking place in that Brewer dugout here at Great American Ballpark. They have scored 4 times in the inning and lead by 3. Ryan Braun popped up to Brandon Phillips, ending what was a perfect first inning for Reineke. Add another 1-2-3 second. He certainly deserved a little bit better fate to begin this 3rd inning. But the bottom line is, since the air, he's faced 4 batters, allowed 3 hits, including a 3-run home run.
Well, what happens now is you get a little bit of you get gun shy. You pitch away from contact. You think your stuff's not good enough. You've got to make perfect pitches. And that's not necessarily true. I mean, he went through the first couple of innings very easily by using all of his pitches and being confident with it. That's what you have to try to do. And it's a lot easier said than done after you've just given up a home run to make it a 4-run ball game.
With Reineke on the mound tonight, he becomes the 19th different pitcher the Reds have used. Not this year. The 19th different pitcher they've used in the last 17 games. The Reds' 40-man roster had 21 pitchers on it going into this regular season. Of the 21, 20 have either been used at the major league level this year with the Reds or been picked up by another team off waivers. And there's only one of those guys. That was Daniel Ray Herrera, and the Brewers picked him up. There's a walk to Braun.
It's really an incredible statistic that you just read off, because it is so unusual for a team, an organization, to have to go through that many pitchers. But remember that one of the things that people said that this organization was blessed with right from the very beginning of spring training was the depth in their pitching. You go down there, that 6-mound pitching catching complex, part of the complex in spring training there, where you see 6 or 7 pitchers warming up at the same time, and these guys are throwing gas with great breaking balls, and you're saying, man, is this organization just deep in pitching? But you had no idea that by the time June 1st would roll around, you'd see everybody, or nearly everybody, on that 40-man roster in the big leagues.
The only one of the 21, if you're wondering, that has either not been brought up by the Reds or picked up by anybody else is the left-handed reliever Philippe Balakat. And the only reason he has not been brought up here is because he's on the disabled list. In fact, just transferred to the 60-day disabled list so they could generate room on their 40-man roster. At least that was being reported a little bit earlier today. Here's a pitch now on the way to Prince Fielder. Ball one away. Reineke trying to find the final 2 outs in this Milwaukee 3rd inning. And that is a foul ball by Fielder. 1-1. Fielder lined out to Drew Stubbs on a well-hit ball to the right center field gap his first time up. 2-1 to Fielder. Runner goes. Swing and a miss. Throw to second, and they'll get Vaughn. Ryan Braun thrown out at second base for the second out of the inning. And boy, does that help Chad Reineke.
Ryan Braun has really improved his running game this year. He had 13 stolen bases. They're looking for get another one right there. And that's just a real good throw by Ramon Hernandez. Nice pick and tag at the other end.
All right, now a strike away and out away from ending this 3rd. Reineke thought he had it there. The count is full on Fielder.
Man, don't you love that XMO camera?
Oh, yeah. There's ball 4 to Fielder. So now the 8th man to bat in what has been a 4-run Brewers 3rd inning is Casey McGee. Back-to-back walks issued by Reineke. He's extremely fortunate. Braun was thrown out a moment ago.
Yeah, he's not attacking the strike zone anywhere near like he did in the first and second inning. And that's what a home run will do to you, and giving up some line drives as he has done in his 4-run inning. You just become a little more tentative.
30th pitch of this inning for Reineke, and that's fouled right back over the screen and out of play.
And it'll stay like that until he goes and throws a ball in there that looks like it's right down the middle, and then somebody hits a ground ball or pops it up, and then you get your confidence back and you think, you know what, not every pitch has to be perfect in order to get an out. But you do have to be aggressive. You've got to pitch inside, you've got to use your fastball and finish your breaking ball pitches.
Off the end of the bat, Renteria throws out the runner at second base on the force play, but a 4-run Milwaukee 3rd, and the Brewers lead by 3. next poll question brought to you by Meyer. You know, we're talking about the Reds' recent domination over the Brewers, or at least until tonight. A reason one team seems to dominate another. Superiority? Psychologically? Do you have their number? The matchups, do they work your way, or is it simply luck? Text your answer to 37664. Standard texting rates apply. What do you think, Chris?
A little combination of a couple of different ones.
Yeah, but you got to pick one.
Well, you know, I'm gonna vote like maybe 3 times.
Well, then which one are you leaving out?
Matchups. Although some people will say, you know, this team doesn't match up with that one. You know, superiority certainly has something to do with that, especially superiority in pitching staffs. Psychological, after you start beating up on a team long enough, that will happen to you as well. And I think there's always a little bit of luck. So excuse me while I vote 3 times. What about you?
I have no idea. Bruce Stubbs about it. Rolled over a foul, 1 and 2.
I love when you're honest.
I mean, really, if anybody really knew, right? I mean, to say for sure, we can all take a guess at it.
That's why it's a poll.
Right.
Because we're not trying to find out the truth. We're just trying to find out the public opinion.
Well, most can't handle the truth. We know that. There's a soft liner in the center field, and that's a base hit for Stubbs. His second hit tonight.
He got a little bit of a rest. Maybe that's all he needed was to take some time off and let the game slow down a little bit. Have a nice conversation down there with Prince Fielder. Let's hope that conversation doesn't last long and Stubbs ends up on second base within a pitch or two.
You know, that was a very famous scene from a movie about handling the truth.
Yeah.
You can't handle the truth. That's big league movie.
Yes, it was.
Jack Nicholson.
Tom Cruise.
What was the name of that movie? I'm drawing a blank. A Few Good Men. Thank you. Thank you, Jimmy. Leadoff man aboard here for the Reds here in the bottom of the 3rd inning. Brandon Phillips lined out to the first baseman fielder his first time up. If he hits it right there again, it'll be a base hit into right field. You may remember Stubbs was standing at second. And on a 3-1 pitch, Phillips hit a rocket, but Fielder was over in the hole. And it was a liner right at him.
Well, that was a good curveball that Greinke dropped on him right there. Really buckled him. See if he stays with it.
Bouncing ball to the right side, and Weeks will play to first. Stubbs in a scoring position, 1 out in the inning. So here come the big guys, Votto and Bruce. Votto flied out to center field his first time up. And it looks like our Freudian crowd has sided with the psychological factor. To Votto, and it's taken low and away. 1 ball and 1 strike. Fastball in the outside corner, and it's strike 2 called to Votto. 1 ball and 2 strikes a count.
Boy, he is really keeping the ball down in the lower part of the strike zone against Votto. He's throwing him a real nice changeup down there, and that fastball low to mid-90s right around the bottom of the strike zone there too.
The Reds are making this right-hander work. He only has one out here in the bottom of the third inning, and he's knocking on the door at 50 pitches in the game.
Well, he's a guy that averages about 18.5 pitches per inning. So he's not among the more efficient pitchers in the league, and he's always been about that many because he's been a high strikeout pitcher. The Reds are making him work even more than normal.
Stubbs a very short lead with Betancourt behind him out at second base, and that is foul tipped in and out of the glove of Jonathan Lucroy. So Votto will hang around for another pitch. Reds down by 3. They have Stubbs in scoring position with one out here in the bottom of the third inning. 2-2 the count on Votto. Greinke a look back and now to the plate, and we'll do it again.
Hey, one thing that Zach Greinke does so well is he uses his lower body in his pitching delivery and really fires off that mound with his legs. Got big, strong legs, as you can see. Most pitchers have a strong trunk area that they work on that core over and over again. But he really uses those legs to fire off that mound. You watch his right foot as it pushes off the mound right at the very bottom there, and how that foot action gets him way out over his front knee. And he's got a fast enough arm to get way out there and get a great release point. That's why he gets that extra action on the fastball and can throw the fastball up in the mid-90s.
Still 2 balls, 2 strikes on Joey Votto. And there's ball 3.
Take another look at Zach Greinke's delivery. Watch his foot down here. Watch how it fires off that mound. I mean, it'll really go forward this way. And you can just see he just loads up and just uses his legs to really come off that rubber. That's called driving it to the plate.
Pretty good battle here between Greinke and Joey Votto.
I'll say Joey Votto does this as well as anybody in all of baseball. I mean, you get 2 strikes on him, and you are by no means finished. I mean, he fouls off pitch after pitch. He seems like he's determined to foul off fastballs until he gets a breaking ball that he can turn on. Or if you decide to finally throw a fastball down the middle on the outer part of the plate, he's got enough juice to go out of the yard back door, hit it out to left field.
Greinke is one of the more deliberate pitchers in the league. There's very little debate about that. On the rubber, off the rubber, frequently, especially during this at bat with Votto. Really trying to drive in Stubbs, and another foul ball back out of play.
Primarily keeping it, as you can see, right down there in the lower outside quadrant.
Well, there's been 9 pitches so far in this at bat. Lucroy coming out to visit with Greinke. What do you think they're discussing there, Chris?
Well, you know, it might be just a little bit of a pep talk on the part of Lucroy. Say, hey, let's not give up right now. Let's just keep to our game plan. Let's not get frustrated. Don't worry about the pitch count. Rick Kranitz will worry about that.
3-2 again to Votto.
Got it away again.
And he walked him. Wanted it back. So now you have Jay Bruce coming up, representing the tying run here in the bottom of the third inning with Stubbs at second and Votto at first.
Yeah, that's got to be somewhat demoralizing to a pitcher. I mean, you get ahead of a hitter and you're throwing really good pitches. I mean, we showed you on that box tracks how many of those pitches were really good spots, low and away with action on them, changing speeds, and you still can't get the guy out, and he waits you out and spoils the good ones. Next thing you know, he's on first base with a walk.
Bruce a run-scoring single in the Reds' first inning. fastball is on the outside corner, a strike. In May, he leads the National League, 12 home runs, now 33 batted in. The league's leader in slugging percentage, extra base hits, the second most hits, and the third best batting average.
You know, one thing Jay Bruce has really not done during his terrific month of May is drive the ball the other way. I mean, he hits the ball the other way from time to time, but the Brewers are playing him like a dead pull hitter, even in the outfield. Nyjer Morgan or Gomez in center field is pulled way around to right center field. There is all sorts of room in left center.
Strike two.
This is the area I'm talking about right here. I mean, that is a lot of area, and a lot of that is dead center field. This is where the center fielder is.
Fastball up and in, 1-2 strikes now on Jay Bruce. Votto, the runner at first. Fielder plays behind him over there. Stubbs out at second, 1 out. Spoiled a pretty good pitch right there by Greinke. Still 1-2. That reinforces what you were just talking about.
Yeah, and when you only have 6 hits, now these are actual base hits going to left field. I mean, this is not how many times he's hit the ball that way. But that's the reason why the Brewers are playing it. They're really overplaying it a little bit. But that's what their scouting report says, and that's the way they're going to do it. But Bruce done a good job not taking the bait by chasing those pitches. When he's not going well, when you go back in the month of April, he was hacking at that pitch every time up. No longer is he fishing.
2-2 now to Bruce with 2 on and 1 out. Reds trailing 4-1, batting in the 3rd inning. Spoiled a good pitch again. Barely got a piece, but a piece nonetheless.
Well, this has got to be wearing on Greinke.
I mean, it was only a couple of minutes ago we were talking about Greinke being right around 47 pitches. We had a 10-pitch at bat by Votto, a lengthy at bat so far by Bruce, and the next pitch will be Greinke's 60th pitch of the game. See, 24 in the 3rd inning, and the Reds have 2 on with only 1 out. Eighth pitch in this at bat between Greinke and Bruce with 2 on. Struck him out. If the Reds are going to get any closer than 3, it's up to Scott Rowland.
That's a cutter right there that has some nice sinking action on it. Might be a slider. I'm not really sure. I can tell the difference up here between his cutter and his slider. That ball had nice downward action on it, and Bruce swings right over the top of it. But overall, a good at bat by Bruce. You make him work like that. Boy, for every extra 10 pitches, you can make that pitcher work early in the game. You do that for 2 innings in a row, you buy yourself an inning of relief later on.
Off the end of the bat by Rowland, and this will do it in the Reds' 3rd inning. They lead 2, and at the end of 3, they trail by 3. Restaurants, schools, retailers, and our military around the world. JTM Food Group. By your Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky Toyota dealers. By Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Visit geico.com or call 1-800-947-AUTO. And by Sonic, America's Drive-In. It's new, it's better. It's the new Sonic Good. Back along the banks of the Ohio, and a 4-1 Brewers lead at the end of 3. Chad Reineke making his Reds debut and pitching in the major leagues for the first time tonight since 2009. He had perfect innings in each of the first 2 frames, allowed 4 runs, 3 of them earned in the Milwaukee 3rd inning. Lucroy bounced out to third base, ending the Brewers' 2nd inning. We'll have the final game of the series for you here tomorrow night. That'll be a 7:10 first pitch again, and plenty of tickets are available. Come on down to the ballpark or call 381 Reds. That'll be Mike Leake on the mound against Sean Markham. Markham has been their best pitcher so far this year. Of course, the 2 big moves made by the Brewers to try and compete with both the Reds and the Cardinals in the Central Division, where the pitcher we're looking at tonight in Greinke, and Markham, who they got in a deal from Toronto.
He's got one of the better changeups that you will ever see. Might be worth a trip to the ballpark. You know, you really would go a long way to find 2 pitchers that have such differing styles in Greinke and Reineke. I'm talking about their deliveries on the mound and their effort levels on each pitch. One out.
Chris, how about our AT&T trivia question?
All right, let's see what it is tonight, Tom. As I remember, you were correct, though, last night. We'll see if you can get it again tonight. Who are the 3 active pitchers to hit a home run in both leagues? Active pitchers, 3 of them, to hit a home run in both leagues. Well, that's interesting.
Well, one of them is on the mound tonight. Zach Greinke. He just hit his first National League home run his last start. Fly ball by Betancourt. Short of the track, Jay Bruce has it. And I don't know the other 2. Do you?
No, I don't. I mean, if you're active pitchers, obviously you've done it in interleague play. So you don't really have all that many chances to hit a home run. I would say CC Sabathia, perhaps.
That is a very good guess. Where'd you come up with that name?
Fantasy team.
That's a big league guess. You want to throw another name out there? I mean, just randomly.
Barry Zito.
No. No. Not him. Well, I shouldn't say no definitively. I don't know the answer, so I guess there's a chance at Zito, but I don't recall him swinging the bat. But now Sabathia,
yeah, he swings.
Yeah, he swings the bat.
Yeah.
Four pitch walk to Nyjer Morgan. And he's on his way to first base with 2 away here in the 4th inning. That's a 3rd walk by Reineke.
That's a mental mistake by Chad Reineke. I mean, you do it in the minor leagues, you do it here too, but you really have to be a game management kind of a pitcher as well. You look in the on-deck circle, there's your pitcher. You really want him to lead the inning off next inning, because we've gone over that many times. And now you got a speedster on first base, and you're going to pitch to the pitcher in this inning. So if you get the pitcher out, now you roll the lineup over, and Ricky Leakes will lead off the top of the 5th when that comes around. about Dontrell? Oh, he's not active, not an active pitcher. I was going to say Dontrell
Boy,
Willis.
now that's a really good guess.
That
Really
guy can
good
swing the
guess.
bat now, let me tell you.
So you're on top of your game here tonight. I mean, those are two big league guesses. The Zito guess stunk, but the other two were really good.
Love your honesty. I'd have it no other way.
I mean, pulling CC Sabathia and Dontrell Willis. Those are two excellent guesses. Strike 3 called. That'll end the inning. We're going to find out the answer to our AT&T trivia question. Chris will have that for you and so much more when we come back. During our game tonight, John Carr of Fort Thomas, Kentucky, who currently drives a 2006 RAV4, will win the new Tundra on display here at Great American Ballpark, and you can register for your chance to win it at an upcoming game by stopping by your Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky Toyota dealer. All right, Chris, here you go.
All right, the three pitchers that have hit home runs in both leagues. I retract my Zito. I did get CC Sabathia. Zach Greinke, we knew that, and Josh Beckett. You mentioned that off air between innings, Tom. Good guess there.
Doesn't count.
You're right, it doesn't.
Those happen to be three pretty good pitchers, too.
Yeah.
Well, Josh Beckett, what a year he is having for Boston. Healthy again. He has been as dominant so far this year as he has been at any point in time in his major league career, and he's been around a while despite being still a very young man. Oh, and 2 on Johnny Gomes. Reds down 4-1. Here's that home run by Greinke against Jason Marquis just inside the fair pole in his most recent start, which was a Greinke and Milwaukee win.
Yeah, struck out 10 in that ball game and hit a home run. That's a pretty good vanilla.
Johnny walked his first time up. Swung on and fouled out of play. Greinke begins this inning up over now the 65 pitch mark.
They really liked the way that the Reds worked him last inning. Ran up his pitch count a little bit. He was showing signs and body language signs of being frustrated out there, especially in that at bat to Joey Votto. And then Bruce gave him a good at bat before a strikeout.
2-2 to Johnny. Renteria waiting on deck, and there's ball 3. Greinke with 2 walks, 3 strikeouts. He allowed a run on 2 hits in the first inning. Pitched around a leadoff walk to Gomes in the second. The Reds had 2 on with 1 out in the third, but Greinke got down to business, striking out Bruce in a lengthy battle, and then got rolling to Chase on a first pitch breaking ball to take care of him. And Gomes comes all the way back from an 0-2 count to draw his second walk of the game. That's 4 walks. 3, I beg your pardon, now by Greinke.
Yeah, he came into this ball game having started 5 games and walked only 3 batters all year long, and he's walked 3 batters in this game. So give credit to the Reds batters with going up there with a game plan, making this guy work a little bit.
Renteria struck out swinging his only time up tonight. Strike 1.
The point I was making about Chad Reineke is that if you watch the lower body of Zach Greinke and how he really uses his legs to fire off the mound, good long stride, and really pushes towards the plate.
Base hit in the right field, charging hard is Corey Hart, so Gomes will slam on the brakes. And the Reds have something cooking here in the 4th inning with 2 on and none out.
And when Chad Reineke takes the mound, take a look at his delivery. I'm not saying one is better than the other. They're 2 different style of pitchers. It just goes to show you don't have to fit into one style to be a big league pitcher. But he really fires it out there and goes the other way, as we have seen Edgar Renteria do for so many years. Man, it didn't matter what uniform he was wearing. Marlins, Cardinals, it seemed like he would come up with a big hit to right field every time it counted against the Reds.
Greinke apparently getting a little frustrated again. Was walking around after that base hit to Renteria and taking his hat off. It's a very warm night here tonight, especially down on that field. Breaking ball in there, strike 1 to Ramon Hernandez.
Oh, a lot of sliders. I mean, a lot of them.
Now the pitcher Reineke due up next, and with all the taxation on that Reds bullpen, you got to believe here in the 4th inning Reineke's going to bat, so this becomes a particularly big at bat for the Reds with 2 on and nobody out. Nothing at 2 on Hernandez. Well, now Reineke being called over by Chris Spire, the bench coach to Dusty Baker. And then right back to the on-deck circle. There's no one warming up in the Reds bullpen. Greinke on that last pitch was dangerously close to a balk. It didn't appear as though he came to a complete stop. I'm not sure he did there either. There's a swing and a foul ball back to the screen.
Well, you know, some umpire crews seem to be a little more liberal with that rule, as long as in their estimation they don't feel the pitcher's doing that to get an advantage over the runner. The whole idea of a balk is to protect the runner. You have to come to what they call a discernible stop before you start your delivery to the plate. Come right there, stop, and then go.
2-2 on Ramon Hernandez as he continues to flip those breaking balls up there. Does Hernandez get a 2-2 fastball? Something he can hammer here with 2 on and nobody out. Reds are down 4-1, but they're threatening as they did an inning ago.
I mean, he's got a good fastball. It just doesn't seem like he wants to throw much of it tonight.
Lined into center field, and it'll fall in a hit. Morgan able to keep it in front of him. So the Reds have the bases loaded with nobody out. That's the good news. The bad news is the pitcher spot is coming up. But another good at bat by a Cincinnati Red, in this case Ramon Hernandez, who, like Johnny Gomes, was down 0-2.
Well, he battled and got another breaking ball. That a slider on a 2-2 count, and he hits it on a sinking line drive. That ball looked like it hit off of Nyjer Morgan's leg to keep it in play, keep it in front of him.
Reineke struck out looking on a 3-2 pitch his first time up. Strike one. Won the count on the Reds pitcher with the bases loaded and a strike two. Dusty Baker obviously would love to see a base hit by Reineke, but he is hoping and praying that if he puts a ball in play, it is not a double play. Gomes at third, Renteria at second, Ramon Hernandez on at first, nobody out, and the 1-2 delivery is swung on and fouled out of play. Nice tag team combination on that ball into the stands. Man and a woman sitting next to one another. Ricocheted off the man's hands and right into his wife's paws. Very nicely done. That's teamwork. Two and two. I would imagine that the Brewers have to be contemplating getting somebody up in their bullpen. Like Reineke will get ready to throw his 83rd pitch of the game. We are in the bottom of the fourth inning. He got ahead 0-2 on the pitcher, Chad Reineke here. And now it's gone to 2-2. Reineke should get a fastball to hit right here. And he throws him another breaking ball. And it is all of a sudden 3-2.
Well, the same way it became an last at-bat for Chad Reineke, went 3-2 before he finally struck him out.
Read his lips right there. Ron Reineke looking at his catcher, and he says, throw the fastball. You can read his lips. He's not happy over there. This is not what the Reds wanted to see. A run is going to score, but we had just finished saying it. The last thing in the world the Reds wanted was a double play. So the run scores from third, making it a 4-2 game. Standing at third is Renteria, but there are two outs in the inning. Bruce Stubbs a perfect 2 for 2. A double, a run scored, and a single. I am amazed at the number of breaking balls that Greinke is throwing here tonight. Now, we don't get to see him very often, but when he was here last year and he just dominated the Reds, It was domination with fastballs. We've seen his fastball clock tonight around 94 miles per hour. That one at 92, and that's a fastball to end the inning. So Greinke pitches out of major trouble, allows only 1 run, and it's a 2-run game. Game with the Reds live on Fox Sports Ohio. All you need to get ready for game time. Of course, you can always get up to date on Chris's checklist before the game on things to look for. I loved your patriotic checklist yesterday on Memorial Day.
Really
beautifully done.
Important day, Tom. I really believe that you know, those that serve the country don't get nearly enough credit, that we are at war, and as long as we're at war, that ought to be on the front page every day.
You know, it's funny you say that. Bill Schroeder, who's sitting in the booth next to us, he has a son right now that is serving, and I mean actively serving. He was talking about his son being, his particular battalion being raided with gunfire as recently as 2 or 3 days ago. And, you know, we first found out that his son had enlisted in the military. You know, you and I were sitting there, we both stood up, shook his hand, said congratulations. He came back to me later that day, and he said, I cannot thank you and Chris enough for saying to me, congratulations. And I looked at him like he had 3 heads, and I said, well, what does that mean? There's Bill Schroeder, longtime analyst for the Milwaukee Brewers. And we're talking about his son who is serving in the United States military overseas. He said, no one has congratulated me about my son serving in the military. There's a base hit in the left field. I couldn't believe when he said it. And you could tell he was sincerely appreciative that anyone had said it to him, and that's really a shame.
Well, Tom, you know, I'm sure you see it all the time as well, but especially in airports where you see active servicemen and women who wear their uniforms. They're stopped all the time going up and down the concourses by people. I've seen people with a group of them coming off a plane getting a standing ovation, and that's really the way it is.
Leadoff man aboard, Ricky Weeks on a base hit to begin this 5th inning with the Brewers in front 4-2. We're only in the top of the 5th. Breaking ball away to Corey Hart, and it's 1 ball and 1 strike.
I talked about the comparison between these two pitchers. So look at Zach Greinke on the side. I mean, he really uses his legs. Look at him fire off the mound with that right foot. And then by contrast, Chad Reineke, almost a guy that uses a much less effort delivery. He has a shorter stride. He tries to stay on top of the ball more, sink it. And he comes out and just kind of has a real short stride and stays on top.
You know, I would be interested in asking Dr. Timothy Kremchek, Reds medical director, and of course he's known throughout the country and really throughout all over the entire continent for really giving guys a second chance in their major league careers. There's a ground ball to short. There's one, and that's a double play. So when you look at those two windups, and we can go back to those again, Chris, you were breaking them down. I mean, is there one of the two of these that would put more stress on a pitcher's arm?
Well, you know, you could say that the guy who's firing off the mound trying to throw the ball mid-90s would normally put more strain on his arm. But, you know, with Dr. Tim Kremchek up here, he's actually pointing at Chad Reineke, saying that he's using more of his upper body, not using his legs as much. I don't know. Maybe is there a way to predict that until the guy actually breaks down and then has to figure out a way to rehab it? That's the age-old question. I guess the medical profession is getting closer and closer to figuring it out. What kind of deliveries are better as far as arm health?
Fly ball into left field.
Maybe we'll continue this discussion.
Perhaps you should ask him a little bit about mental health.
Fix you up with that.
McDonald's extra value meal and get $3 off the price of an admission during Ticket Tuesday right now. Get a view level seat for the Reds Brewers tomorrow. Now think about this. For $12, you get a view level ticket for tomorrow night's game. But you have to do it right now. And you get a free McDonald's extra value meal. Now, I don't know where you're going to beat that. Anyway. It's a big inning here for the Reds. They have had big-time chances the last couple of innings against Greinke, and they've only pushed across one run. They had 2 on, 1 out in the third, didn't score. Bases loaded, none out in the fourth, scored once. And one on Brandon Phillips.
What they have been able to do, Tom, though, is run that pitch count up. Coming up right now for Zach Greinke is pitch number 90. And here he is in the bottom of the 5th inning. So he puts, if the Reds can get him to, you know, one more long inning, I mean, he'll be on the verge of coming out of the ball game by virtue of pitch count.
And right out of the gate here in the bottom half of the 5th inning, we're seeing more fastballs from Zach Greinke.
Yeah. Well, you saw the words or the lip reading of his manager, Ron Renicky. I think Rick Granite's the pitching coach, delivered the message to him saying, hey, son, you throw 92 to 95 miles an hour. How about using that arm and stop trying to trick these guys?
Breaking ball there, as you see frequently from a lot of guys on a 2-strike pitch ahead in the count 1-2, and Phillips able to foul it away. Reds scored in the first inning on a single by Jay Bruce to drive in Bruce Stubbs. Milwaukee 4 runs against Chad Reineke in the third, highlighted by a 3-run home run from Corey Hart. And the Reds scored their second run when Reineke bounced into a double play with the bases loaded. That was in the fourth. So here we are in the fifth. And if you're just sitting down and settling in after dinner, getting the kids to bed, or the kids are sitting there watching it with you, thanks for joining us here tonight. Long way to go. Phillips able to wait on that breaking ball. The maximum number of pitches for Greinke this year since coming off the disabled list, 100. He went up over 110 11 times a season ago with Kansas City. Phillips out of there on strikes. He's 0 for 3 tonight. Well, if you haven't heard by now, let me remind you the Johnny Bench exhibit is going on, presented by Dinsmore and Scholl at the Reds Hall of Fame and Museum. For more information, visit redsmuseum.org. Five strikeouts for Greinke. And there's a base hit into right field by Votto. So Jay Bruce walks to the plate carrying the tying run with 1 out and 1 on here in the fifth.
Well, 2 times in this ballgame, Joey Votto has swung at the first pitch. First time was a line drive to left field. That one was a first pitch curveball that he lines into right field for a base hit. Well, what a hitter. A couple of them right down there.
Here's Jay Bruce. Strike 1. Bruce, the league leader in both home runs with 16 and runs batted in with 44. He's knocked in 1 run tonight. Up in until they needed that put-away pitch on Jay Bruce in the third inning. With 2 on and 1 out. That's the only time in that at-bat that they came in on Bruce on a 2-strike pitch. Chris, you pointed out earlier, they're working him way away. And that one rolled over. Weeks will flip to Betancourt, and they will not turn the double play. 2 out. And that's a result they're looking for if you can get Bruce to chase it.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised during this entire month that we've not seen many teams overall come right after Jay Bruce inside. But, you know, obviously they know what they're looking at right there, and they finally get him to roll over on one, but that was a good location. What has happened with Jay Bruce is that when a pitcher makes a mistake, he's there to whack it out of the yard. I mean, he's simply not fouling off those cripple pitches anymore.
Now Rolen. He looks at a strike. Rolen is 0 for 2. His line to the wall in right field and bounced out to second, stranding 2 1/3. Rolen due for a long one. He's not homered in 118 plate appearances. His last home run came as a pinch hitter against Houston. On the first homestand of the year. That was on April the 7th. Off the end of the bat, and this has a chance to fall in. Nice play by Betancourt in shallow left field to end the inning. A hit a man left. We play 5 and the Brewers lead 4-2. A Gapper pillowcase thanks to Myers. So grab a hold of mom or dad or big brother or grandma or grandpa and have him bring it on down to the ballpark this Sunday. Chad Reineke begins the 6th inning, trailing 4-2. Prince Fielder is hit on the very first pitch.
That's one of those cutters that we talked about. It resembles a slider, starts inside and just bores right in on a left-handed hitter. That probably will get the phone to ring down there in the Reds bullpen. Jorge Lopez getting the signal to get somebody up and loose.
Ball in there, a strike to Casey McGee, who struck out and bounced into a fielder's choice on a ground ball to the shortstop, ending the 4-run 3rd inning. There you get a look at Juan Porky Lopez. Double play ball here. Can't draw it up any better than that. What if Mr. Reineke can find a way to take care of business without any damage here in the 6th inning? It's not a bad effort at all that he's turned in this game.
Yeah, he would have given the Reds what would constitute a quality start. 6 innings or more, 3 earned runs or less. One of the runs, of course, the Brewers scored in the 3rd inning unearned, came on an error by the shortstop. But that was an easy 4-6-3 to get him out of some trouble right here.
You can only wonder what that 3rd inning may have been had that roller to Renteria not gone right through his legs. That was a leadoff batter in the inning, and he picked it up, throwing him out.
You never really know.
You never know.
Like a misdeal in a poker game. You upset the karma of the deck.
You notice a pattern here tonight between Quinellas and poker hands. And
listen, I'm not a gambler. I just happen to throw them out every once in a while.
I may have spoke too soon. Doggone it. Had one in the air to left field, and that will fly out of here.
A second deck home run by Matthew Lucroy.
That's a big run. Lucroy's 6th of the year, and the lead is back to 3 for a second time tonight.
Well, that's some serious power that he shows on this one. That is pretty much in the hot zone of any right-handed hitter around.
Boy, there's a 2-0 fastball right down the can. And he didn't miss it.
Reds fans, if you're in the restaurant industry, let JTM Food Group help you with great tasting products for your menu. Inspired solutions, better results. JTM.
Betancourt reached on that error to begin the 3rd inning and scored the first of 4 in the 3rd. That one's driven into left center field, and Gomes will get it, and that'll end the inning. But a 2-out mistake on a home run by Lucroy and a 5-2 Milwaukee lead. out near the end and splintered all over the home plate area. That is the Coors Light Freeze Can, brought to you by Frostproof Coors Light. But a home run with 2 outs in the top of the 6th inning by Jonathan Lucroy makes it a 3-run Milwaukee lead. It's the 3rd time tonight Johnny Gomes has led off an inning. Each of the first 2 times he walked and scored a run in the 4th. Well, the Reds have had a pile of chances. They've left at least 1 runner on base in every inning tonight. And you got to believe that it'll be a very short leash for Greinke here in the 6th inning. He's already up over 100 pitches through 5 innings and 2 pitches here in the bottom of the 6th. They had Estrada in the 5th inning. And Marco Estrada is up and throwing again here to begin the 6th. Swing and a miss, and that'll put away Gomes. 1 out. 6 strikeouts for Greinke. Reds have action in their bullpen. Made his major league debut on Saturday, an eventful one in Atlanta. Jeremy Horst threw the ball very well. He did give up 1 run, but pitched well. And of course, in his first major league bat, he had a run-scoring single. Here's Renteria. Fouled out of play. Edgar struck out and singled. Got to give Greinke credit, at least so far. I mean, here's a guy that in any number of innings tonight could have had this thing get away from it. The ball hit hard, but right at Hart, 2 out. And he's now an out away from getting through 6 innings and allowing only 2 runs.
Yeah, it was one of these nights it looks like that Greinke did not have his best stuff. And by that meaning, not that he didn't have his fastball, but he didn't have his breaking ball command. It didn't have the same snap in it. I watched the game that he pitched against the Washington Nationals earlier this afternoon just to see what his stuff looked like, and he really had a snapper of a breaking ball then. Struck out 10. Tonight it's kind of rolling up there, and those are the kind of nights that you really pay your #1 starter to be a #1 starter. To battle through those kind of games where you don't have your best stuff and still give the team a good quality start.
Well, that's by far his easiest inning of the night. His first perfect inning of the night. Probably his final inning of the night. It's a 3-run Brewers lead. Game on Fox Sports Ohio, brought to you by AT CIN. by Cincinnati Children's, who ranks 3rd in the nation on U.S. News and World Report's honor roll for Best Children's Hospitals 2011. By your Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky Honda dealers. And by Wendy's. You know when it's real. Only 5 hits for the Brewers, but they scored 3 of their runs on a home run by Corey Hart back in the 3rd inning. And it's a 3-run lead, and Chad Reineke, despite giving up a solo home run with 2 outs in the 6th, will start the 7th to face Morgan. More than likely a pinch hitter. In fact, Craig Counsell is already standing in the on-deck circle to bat for Greinke. And then Ricky Weeks.
Well, Morgan has been on twice. If Reineke wants to have a nice, easy inning, this is the guy you want to really concentrate on.
Giants in the bottom of the 5th inning with a 2-1 lead over the Cardinals. Well, they'll take care of Morgan, 1 out. Reineke's spot due to lead off the bottom of the 7th inning, as Craig Counsell will be the announced pinch hitter for Greinke. He'll go 6 innings, allows 6 hits and 2 runs. He walks 3 batters. That's a season high. And strikes out 6. Counsell had a pinch hit single here in the game last night against Jose Arredondo. Those are the numbers we gave you a moment ago on Greinke. Counsell, a 2-time World Series champion, as a starting player with the Marlins going all the way back to '97. And many forget he was actually a National League Championship Series most valuable player in 2001 for the Diamondbacks, and won another ring with that team. Finishing a long career playing for his hometown team. And he draws a 1-out walk. 4th walk of the game issued by Reineke. Come down to Great American Ballpark. Taking a look ahead to the next homestand, June the 18th. Reds and the Blue Jays. One of the first 20,000 fans through the gate receive a red spirit hair, courtesy of Queen City Sausage. Reds and Blue Jays that weekend of the 18th. Ricky Weeks, 2 out of 3, a single in each of his last 2 times up, and he scored a run tonight. These are very, very big outs in this game if the Reds have any hopes of coming from behind over their final 3 at bats. And Reineke certainly not helping himself, issuing a walk to the pinch hitter Counsell, although has had a very good career. Has been scuffling with the bat so far this season. There's a pitch in the dirt, and the runner will go to second. It's a nice play by Brown, keeping that ball from going into center field.
There's really not much that Hernandez could do about that. That ball hit the plate, and he was actually lucky to get his glove on that ball. Reineke now with 95 pitches. Looks like he's beginning to run out of gas big time.
The Reds staying with him here. The only pitcher they had getting loose in the bullpen was a left-hander, Horst. And he is more than ready to go, but there's not a left-handed batter in sight coming up for the Brew.
Yeah, you got two more right-handers, Hart and Braun, before Fielder shows up.
And 2 on Weeks. Counsell in scoring position. And it's pretty clear Weineke is running out of steam.
He's done.
To the count on Weeks. And he draws a walk.
Yeah, and you know, Tom, it might be more mental, empty in the tank, than it is physical. I mean, it's hot and humid tonight. Yeah, he's already thrown close to 100 pitches. But I mean, you get so psyched up for your first major league start in a couple of years. He's worked hard for it, and he probably didn't sleep well last night. Probably had a lot of little family business to take care of as far as tickets, and concerned that he's going to get through the first inning. All that wears you down. So to have pitched into the 7th inning like he has done tonight, he did a nice job.
This will be our Skyline Chili call to the bullpen. Paul Janisch will be part of a double switch. He'll take over at short for Renteria and bat in the 9th spot. They're going to bring in a left-hander, Jeremy Horst, from the bullpen. Since 2009. And those are the final numbers. He only allowed 5 hits. But he did walk 5 batters and he hit a batter. So now Jeremy Horst, young left-hander, comes on from the bullpen, pitching in his 2nd major league game. Corey Hart fly to right in the 1st inning, hit a big 3-run home run to cap off that 4-run 3rd, and then bounced into a double play, starting on a roller to Renteria's last time up.
Could use a ground ball right here. Little double play ball would take a lot of the edge off of this inning.
Roughing into the bat in a shallow center field. That's going to fall in a hit. Counsell racing to the plate. Throw is cut off. That is great base running by Craig Counsell.
Well, he knew exactly, you know what Craig Counsell does, and he just prepares himself for every play out there. And if you're a young player watching an older veteran player, Counsell's a great guy to make an example of, because he knew where those outfielders were playing and knew that the sound of that ball and the trajectory of the ball off the bat, that there was no way it was going to hang up there in time for Drew Stubbs to pick it up. He didn't even have to look back. Stubbs may have tried to decoy him, but he knew right away when Ricky Weeks saw Counsell go, he's going from first to third. So very aggressive and very good base running by the Brewers right there.
We talked about how important this inning was going to be, already down 3 runs. And it's a 1-out walk to the pinch hitter that comes back to bite Roenicke. And now all of a sudden the Brewers are threatening to blow this thing wide open. They're on the corners. And it's ball 1 to Ryan Braun. One to Braun. One and 2 the count on Braun. 0 for 2 tonight. Walk was thrown out trying to steal second back in the 3rd inning. Fly to left his last time up. Brewers must feel like they have hit the lottery here tonight, scoring 6 times in a road game. We told you they aren't even averaging 3 runs per game as a club away from their home ballpark. Where at home they're 21-7 and just seem to knock the cover off the ball. Struck him out on a pitch up and away. 2 away in the inning.
Second strikeout in a couple of nights on the same type of pitch. Last night it was Dick Massett that went upstairs with a high 4-seam fastball to blow away Brian Braun. That time that ball just kind of got away from Jeremy Horst, and Braun had decided to swing, and no way he was going to hit it.
Now the left-handed batting Prince Fielder, who's lined to center, drew a walk back in the 3rd inning, then was hit by a pitch from Roenicke in the 6th. Reds down 4. The Brewers batting here in the 7th inning. Two and 1 to Fielder. Runners on the corners, 2 away, and that drops in there. A much better breaking ball there from the young left-hander, to even the count on Prince Fielder. Reds trying to keep it a 4-run game. They need the out of fielder right here and right now. And we'll do it again at 2 and 2. Giannis will have to play to first, and the out is there. And that'll retire the side. Brewers get a run on a couple of walks and a hit. They stand and stretch, and the Brewers' lead is stretched to 4. Well, we told you a little bit earlier, we like to remind you, for a free McDonald's extra value meal and get $3 off the price of admission right now on our Ticket Tuesday here at Fox Sports Ohio. Right now, and I mean now. You can get a view-level seat for the Reds-Brewers game tomorrow night, plus a free McDonald's extra value meal, all for just $12. All right, Chris, Reds have work to do here in new Milwaukee pitching.
Well, at least it's not Zach Greinke, because he had a pretty good run of it. Even though he didn't have his best stuff, he gave the Brewers 6 innings of 2-run baseball, and he will give way to another right-hander. They have no left-handers in the bullpen, by the way. Marco Estrada earned his first major league win early in April against the Atlanta Braves of 6 innings of pitching. And he's been very good lately. Last 7 appearances, his earned run average has been under 1. So he's been outstanding out of the bullpen for Ron Redecky.
First pitch fastball near Paul Giannis, who bats for the first time. You may remember he came on as part of a double switch when Jeremy Horst entered the game. 0-2. Stubbs to follow, and then Brandon Phillips. Giannis been swinging a much better bat. 5 hits in his last 15 at-bats, with 4 runs batted in. Did that end up in the radio booth again?
Looked like it was in there. I wonder if your dad, did he catch 2 in the same year?
Oh, over in the Brewers radio
Bob Uecker booth.
Yeah, Bob Uecker booth. Well, the Reds have a rally in them. They have come from behind, of course, already against this Brewers team, most notably on opening day, lighting up their closer, John Axford. Well, jam shot pop-up into shallow left field. This has the shortstop written all over it.
Well, he's already proved that he can make that play. Second time Betancourt has had to go back and make a somewhat over-the-shoulder catch.
Doug Melvin, the general manager of the Brewers, has said once and has said many, many times before, one of the hardest things to try and put together year in and year out is how good your bullpen is going to be. And he knew he had work last year When the Brewers bullpen ERA was around 4.5. And it was particularly bad early in the year. And they brought in LaTroy Hawkins. They brought in Takashi Saito. Of course, those guys have been hurt. But other guys, all of a sudden, like Estrada, who you're seeing here tonight, among others, they've thrown. The bullpen ERA is down well over a run per 9 innings. Now, it hasn't been great, but it's been a lot better.
Well, Estrada's a guy that has always had a hard time throwing consistent strikes. So your game plan ought to be a little bit more patience, especially if you're down by 4 runs the way the Reds are. Make this guy throw the ball over the plate. There's a gimme pitch on a 3-1 count.
We said earlier in the game, if there is a pitcher's umpire, maybe more than any other in the league, it is this guy behind the plate tonight. Who's better than him? Who's one guy that's a better pitcher umpire than him?
You mean who calls more strikes?
Yeah.
John Hirschbeck.
All right. Well, then those are 2 of the top 3.
Tim
and he rings him up there.
Jeff Kellogg.
More than this guy?
Yeah, I'm only going by percentage of strikes called by umpires.
Oh, well, that's a good barometer of it.
But he's a guy that calls about 62.8% strikes, which is a little bit on the upside.
That's a good pick.
Not too far from the norm. But it was a 3-1 pitch. It was probably still in the mind of Drew Stubbs that made him take that last one.
That last one looked like a good pitch.
It did.
I am stunned to hear that Tim McClellan is on that list.
You know, interesting. I'll show you after the ball game.
No, I'm not debating about it. I know you check all that stuff, but I'm amazed. It seems like every game I've seen Tim McClellan.
But you know, Tom, it only varies by a couple of percentage points from the guy who calls the most strikes and who calls the fewest percentage of strikes.
Right.
So you're not talking about 10% more or anything like that. You're talking about 2 or 3% at the most.
Nice play there by Betancourt. So the inning is over. So you learn something every day. That's good stuff. We'll have that list for you one of these days before a ball game.
Tech Talk.
Tech Talk.
Ever home run right here at Great American Ballpark. They're happy in the Reds dugout, and there'll be many more to come for number 32. That is our Coors Light Cold Hard Blast.
Beautifully done there, Mr. Welsh. Six-2 ball game. Brewers bat here in the 8th inning. They're trying to end a 6-game losing streak in this ballpark and win for just the second time in their last 14 games here against the Reds. Meanwhile, the Giants continue to lead the Cardinals 2-1. That's Chris Carpenter on the short end of that one. He had a complete game his last start. He got beat.
Or he's had several of those outings where he's gone 8 innings and end up with a complete game but the loss. You have years like that. Then on the other hand, you have years like Zach Greinke has had for the Brewers where they score him nearly 7 runs a game when he takes them out. Sometimes it's not how you pitch, it's when you pitch.
To the count. Fastball away. Casey McGee leading things off here to be followed by Lucroy and then Betancourt. Reds have 2 more cracks at him, down by 4. Boy, those were big tack-on runs these last 2 innings for the Brewers. Looked like Reineke would survive after getting a double play ball, but on a 2-0 pitch allowed the home run to Lucroy to the second deck in left field. And then certainly tiring while starting the 7th. Allowed consecutive walks to Craig Counsell and Ricky Weeks. Another grounder down to third. And a hitless night so far for McGee. Those 2 walks led to a run on a base hit by Hart. Well, our final poll results presented by Meyer. And baseball fans, now your chance to win a Fox Sports Ohio Meyer prize pack. Text the word Meyer, M-E-I-J-E-R, to 37664. Now to be entered. Good luck. Psychological. Getting the highest percentage of votes from those of you at home. So if the answer is psychological, Chris, what does one do to snap the psychological cycle of getting owned by another team?
You know, you go in to win a few games, and it's amazing how you have a short memory. You forget all about those losses. Simple as that. At least that's my theory. I don't think there's an answer. You go out and win. I mean, the Brewers have got to feel like if they're able to hold on in this ball game, you know, that they will have broken the curse or whatever you want to call it, and they finally get on the other side of the ledger when it comes to playing here at Great American Ballpark. But the Reds are able to come back, and they've got 6 outs to go and snatch victory out of this ball game. And the Brewers may need some psychological help. Did you hear that?
I heard all of it.
No, I mean the crickets that were just chirping here.
I love that sound. At night, this time of year. We have this frog that's been hanging out either in our backyard or the neighbor's backyard. He's been hanging around here 4 or 5 years. He just came out for the first time the other night. It's nice to hear him back. Fastball up and in, 2-2 on Yuniesky Betancourt. Of course, that could have been my wife for the last 4 or 5 years. I'm not sure. There's a swing and a miss, and that'll end the
You
inning.
better be happy that's the end of the inning.
That'll be with Jeff Pecoro, Jim Dan, Chris Welsh. Brought to you by King's Honda in the King's Auto Mall. Visit KingsHondaUSA.com. Cameron Lowe now on from the Milwaukee bullpen. Follows up a 1-2-3 inning by Marco Estrada after the front six from starter Zach Greinke. Reds down 6-2, heart of the order up. Trying to rally late. And there's strike one, Nevada. Very good numbers for Votto against this Milwaukee right-handed. Now the 1-1. Strike two.
Boy, nice little comeback fastball there for Cameron Lowe. He's a big guy, 6 feet 7 inches tall. He throws from that sidearm, a little high sidearm angle. But he's got great comeback. That ball will kind of go this way on the hitter. Start in at your belt and then come back in and just get the inside edge.
Betancourt, well, he's made some nice plays tonight. A good one there to begin the 8th inning. Follow the Reds with MLB.com at bat 11. You can text it back to 31826 to learn more or visit Reds.com for details. Well, Jay Bruce is 1 for 3. Had an RBI single in the first inning, struck out with 2 on in the third. Bounced into a fielder's choice in the 5th. Wrapping up one of the most productive months in the history of the Reds franchise is Jay Bruce. His 44 RBIs are the most through the month of May by a Red since Austin Kearns back in 2003 had 47 RBIs. There's a fly ball to left field. And the first 2 gone against Lowe here in the Reds' 8th inning. Reds starting to run out of outs. One on rolling, a hitless night for Scott. He's lined to right, bounced to second, stranding 2 in the 3rd inning. Left a runner on a pop-up in the 5th. 2 down, none on in the Reds' 8th inning. Check swing, roller right at fielder, and that will end the inning. Reds gone in order for a 2nd straight inning, make it a 3rd straight inning. We go to the 9th with the Brewers in command. this was a big play. We said the Reds did not want this to happen, and it happened. Bases loaded, nobody out.
Yeah, that was a situation where you really hoped to get more than one run out of it. That did score a run, but you have bases loaded, nobody out, chance to really do some damage. That didn't do it.
Jeremy Horst on for his second full inning of work, at least he hopes. He came on to get the final 2 outs in the 7th inning. Had a 1-2-3/8. And a check swing roller foul by Morgan. 0-2 the count. Josh Wilson, who had a pinch hit home run off the Brewers bench here last night, is standing in the on-deck circle. And we're bat for Cameron Lowe. If you're looking ahead of the bottom of the 9th for the Reds, it'll be Gomes. The pitcher spot, Ramon Hernandez, and the Reds are hoping for plenty more after those 3. Slapped into left center field by Morgan. He's coming into second base. Here comes a throw just offline. Been a good night for Morgan. It's the 3rd time he's been on base tonight. 2 hits and a walk.
That's a pretty good bit of hitting, too, on an 0-2 pitch. He just tried to go outside with a little bit of a cut fastball right there by Horst. Good location, but that's one of those situations where you just give the hitter a little bit of a benefit of the tip of the cap. And with his speed, he takes advantage and gets into second base. It's already a 4-run game.
So now Wilson to bat. They let him swing away, pops it up in foul ground. It's out of play. Well, even with a 4-run lead, at least a 4-run lead right now, Brewers not taking any chances. They have their closer, John Axford, getting loose in the bullpen. Axford gave up 4 runs in the bottom of the 9th here on opening day. To get hung with a loss on the game-ending home run off the bat of Ramon Hernandez. Right between the legs of Giannis. And they're on the corners with nobody out.
Boy, tough night defensively for the Red shortstops. 2 balls through the wickets. One to Renteria and one for Giannis. He did the same thing that Renteria did, which is just did not get his glove down and keep it down. Now the Reds will bring the infield in. Try to cut the run off at the plate to keep the deficit at 4. At least when you're down by 4, you can load the bases in one swing in the back and tie that baby up. You get down by more than that, it becomes awfully tough.
Check swing, and he went around, strike 1. Come for the fun, stay for more fun. Make it a home run weekend. Book your trip at CincinnatiUSA.com. Big weekend coming up with the Dodgers in town. Fly ball right field, plenty deep enough to bring in a guy with Morgan speed from third, and it is a 5-run Brewers lead on a sac fly by Weeks. Weeks is a very, very nice offensive player. Two hits tonight. An RBI, scored a run, also drawn a walk.
Well, he does a nice job as a leadoff hitter because he's got home run power. He's got 9 home runs. And he gets on base a lot. His on base percentage up over 360. So he's really grown and matured into that spot. He was always just a good fastball hitter, but now he's become much more of a well-rounded ball player.
Weeks is never a guy who's going to be in the category of a Brandon Phillips from a defensive standpoint. It wouldn't be from a lack of trying, as we talked about last night. I mean, this is a Brewers team, much like this Reds team, with a lot of guys you refer to as gamers. When you talk about Ricky Weeks to his teammates, and even those that follow the club, they just rave about how hard he works, how much he cares, and how much he wants to beat you every night.
Yeah, I get the feeling there's a lot of peer pressure on that ball club about that, very much like there is with the Reds, where this is a team that is kind of self-governed by players that are on the team rather than having managers and coaches telling them they better hustle or they're going to be benched. I mean, the superstars on the Brewers hustle and play hard. Braun, Fielder, Hart, and Weeks. And because of that, everybody else is going to hop on board. But if Fielder didn't run out every ground ball, then a guy like Weeks might not. And so if Braun didn't run out every ball, you know, some other guys would say, well, this guy doesn't do it. Why should I? And pretty soon, that's the kind of attitude that brings the whole team down. But they play a lot like the Reds. Reds play the same way. They play hard every out.
Here's ball 4 to Hart. 6th walk of the night by Reds pitching. 5 of them by Reineke.
You know, I had that conversation, Tom, about running balls out and playing hard and doing everything you can as a player with Ryan Braun before the ball game tonight. And he said, you know, that's the one thing in baseball that you can control. You can't control, you know, what happens after you swing the bat and the ball goes off the bat. You can't control what happens to the ball once it's out of your hand. But you can control your effort level. And he goes, if my effort level isn't there, I want people to tell me.
Carlos Gomez coming on the run, and he'll stay in the game to play in the outfield in place of Hart.
I just told him it was refreshing to watch him play because there's so many fathers of young players that are watching big leaguers and setting examples. And if you get guys that are, you know, making the millions of dollars that Braun is, and he's hustling out every ground ball and every pop-up, you know, the way that Votto and Bruce do, that's the kind of example that you want to see your young guys emulate.
Ground ball foul wide of third. Oh, and 2 on Ryan Braun. Still only 1 out here in the Milwaukee 9th inning. They have 2 on. And there's a one-hopper knocked down by Votto, and he beat Vaughn to the bag. Nice play by Joey to stay with it. The runners will advance. Gomez to second, and Wilson on to third.
Ball hit sharply, but you wonder if maybe Joey Votto wasn't somewhat screened by the runner coming off first base right there. That's the one problem of playing behind the runner. The ball is hit right to you, and he gets in your way. As long as he doesn't interrupt you from fielding the ball by running into you, it's legal to block the side of the ball.
Fielder facing Horse for the second time. Got him on a ground ball to the shortstop, ending the 7th inning. Horse down in Louisville had a number of these sorts of outings. He began the year pitching primarily against the left-handers in the 8th inning. But of course he's been used as a starter for a lot of his minor league career. In fact, most of it up until last year. Well, he's had games this year in the minor leagues where out of the pen he's gone 2 2/3, 3 1/3, 4 1/3. So you can run him out there quite a while. Well, the idea of throwing plenty of strikes, that has always been something that he has battled most of his minor league career. Phillips gobbles up the ground ball. The Brewers have tacked on runs in 3 of the last 4 innings. So the Reds will bat in the bottom of the 9th, trailing by 5. Dog play of the game. Nice throw down a second to cut down Ryan Braun by Ramon Hernandez.
Well, the closer will be in there for the Milwaukee Brewers. John Axford, 25 games now. He's been pretty good with save and save opportunities. You know, he blew the first one of the year he had right here in Cincinnati, but since that time he's tightened it up quite a bit, saving 13 of the next 14 games in which he has had a chance to record a save. This is not a save situation, not with a 5-run lead.
Well, they change the outfield alignment a little bit. Gomez stays in the game to play center field, and will push Niger Morgan into right.
Well, those that wanted to see Johnny Gomes as a leadoff hitter are getting their chance tonight. This is the 4th time up for Johnny Gomes, and each and every time he's led off the inning.
Strike 1 to Johnny. Pair of walks, a run scored, and Gomes struck out in the 6th inning. Fastball away, 1 ball and 1 strike. Chris Heisey stands in the on-deck circle. Axford, a 97-mile-per-hour fastball that tied up Gomes. Obviously not a safe situation with a 5-run lead for the Milwaukee closer. They've gotten excellent bullpen work tonight. After 5 very shaky innings from Greinke, getting into trouble, but again, to his credit, getting out of trouble. His final inning was a 1-2-3-6. Estrada with a perfect 7th. Lowe, a 1-2-3-8. And now Axford with a 5-run lead. Zoom ball there, 2-2.
Axford nearly became a Cincinnati Red. He was drafted by the Reds back in 2005, but that was in the 42nd round. So instead of signing with the Reds, he ended up transferring to Canisius College in Buffalo and then signing with the Yankees as a free agent a year later.
'97 on the outside corner.
All set up by the zoom ball.
Now Heisey will bat for Horst, who goes 2 2/3, allows a couple of hits, 1 unearned run. Get a look at the numbers for Heisey when he gets a chance to start a game, or at least play in a game, outside of just a pinch hitting appearance. Get a look at what he's done. To be fair, some of those numbers, like the other night, he came in as part of a double switch in Atlanta and had a couple of hits while in the quote-unquote lineup, but was not in the starting lineup. Johnny Gomes clearly is starting to see the ball a little bit better. I mean, his line tonight says 0 for 2, but he did walk twice. He did score a run. Talked about Reds pinch hitters and how terrific they have been this year. Saw Eric Cooper there. The catcher is going to walk out and visit the mound to give him a moment to sort of regroup. And he just said, come on back.
Yeah, you know, that's like a little fraternity between catchers and umpires. Catcher gets hit, needs to walk it off. The umpire walks out to the mound. Umpire gets hit, needs to walk it off. The catcher goes out to the mound to buy some time. It's a good place to hang out there on the mound.
Well, you hung out there for a while.
Not long enough.
McGee, a one-hop throw that gets away from fielding. And Heisey will hustle back to the bag. He's a one-out base runner.
On the line, McGee makes a nice stab right here. All he needs to complete that play is a good throw. And that's a ball that really was a much easier pick than it looks for Prince Fielder. He looks like he got his glove and his legs kind of mixed up right there. The ball ends up going between his legs. McGee with the error.
Well, he gave him a hit.
He gave him a hit. All right, good for Heisey.
Ramon Hernandez, Reds not quite dead yet. They have 1 on and 1 out here in the bottom of the 9th inning. Ramon 1 of 3. And that's off the glove. Boy, it appears as though Lucroy is having a lot of problems handling some of the stuff being fired up there in this inning by Axford. A lot of pitches have gotten away, and they're up above the head of Lucroy.
Well, he's throwing hard. I mean, he's throwing 96 and 97 miles an hour, and you're looking for the ball down and away, and all of a sudden he throws it 3 feet off the mark or more. I mean, it's hard enough to get your glove up there in time, much less try to catch it in the pocket.
Who's on CBTS Tech Talk tomorrow? Look ahead for Reds Live.
I'm not sure. I'll have to check with Kenton Dreamweaver. He's the guy that decides what rolls and when. You know, I probably will complete the visit with Reds relief pitcher Jose Arredondo. He gave us a nice 3-part segment, and we've got the final episode mañana.
Two and two on Hernandez. Play, and Hernandez hanging around.
John Axford has given up 1 home run all year long. And of course, that was back in the month of March, opening day, and it was to the man at the plate, Ramon Hernandez.
A game-winning home run.
By far his worst outing of the year for Axford. The only game in which he has given up more than 2 runs. He's only given up 2 runs once.
2-2 the count on Ramon with a runner at second. And there's ball 3.
You know what's amazing about Axford is that he'll throw 2 or 3 pitches way up out of the strike zone, and then he'll paint the corner at the knees with a fastball at 97. I mean, it's almost impossible to hit.
The Reds have Paul Janisch next, and then you get back to the top of the order. Things can get very interesting. If a couple of guys can get on base by the time you get to Stubbs, and 2 are on now with 1 out.
Well, he's really flying open. You know, it might be the fact that he remembers what went on back in March, and especially against a guy like Hernandez, he's just overthrowing the ball. Flying open with his shoulder, everything laying up way high out of the zone. Rick Kranitz will come to talk to him, just try to settle him down. He's had a couple of days off since he was in the ball game last. He had pitched a game, and it was a non-save situation against the Giants. And that last pitch, not even close. And sometimes those closers have a problem getting into a ball game and getting their adrenaline up and running when it's a non-save situation.
Paul Janisch with 2 on and 1 out. And there's strike 1. Those have there been in this inning? I don't know if I've ever seen a pitcher in a long time that has thrown that many zoom balls.
What's the record for zoom balls in an inning?
This is it. I don't know if I've ever seen a guy who is of the established sort of pitcher that Axford is.
Yeah.
I mean, I know he hasn't been around very long, but I mean, he is a closer of a legitimate division contending team. And well, that's got to be 6 or 7 of those in this inning alone. But at the end of the day, it's still only a ball. And then he comes back with that 94 right down the can.
Well, what he's not doing is taking speed off the ball and kind of laying it in there so you get a strike.
1-2 on Giannis, 2 on and 1 out in the Reds' 9th inning, but they're down 5, and now it's 2 balls and 2 strikes. Chris had talked about earlier trying to stay within quote-unquote slam range of the opposition.
Well, the other thing to consider, I mean, even if the Reds don't come back from 5 runs down right here, but Axford throws a 30-pitch inning, that's going to have an effect on him tomorrow in the event that the Brewers need him.
Well, that's a big out. That would have been ball 3.
Well, our box tracks will track the sequence right there. 2 in the zone. The final pitch right there, like the 4th pitch and the 2nd pitch, up and out of the zone.
So now the Reds down to their final out. 2 on, 2 out here in the last of the 9th inning, trailing 7-2. Bruce Stubbs doubled his first time up, singled his second time up, has struck out twice since. What we were talking about, Chris brought up in the top of the 9th inning, trying to stay within slam range. That's why that 1 tack-on run, the difference between 4 and 5. And you might get a look at it front and center here in this inning. I mean, if Stubbs were to reach and you don't allow that run, and here comes Phillips with the bases loaded.
Axford is consistently missing upstairs.
I'm not sure right now Axford would be capable of throwing 3 strikes before throwing 4 balls. Right now. Stubbs taking all the way 2-0. Many wondered, could Axford come back after really what was a season out of nowhere for him to take over as a closer for this Brewers club? Man, that Kite's all over the map if he's getting that call.
What does our box track say? If it touches the corner, it's a strike, at least according to box tracks. But there is a margin of error built into that. That's the same system that umpires used, or the umpires union uses to evaluate umpires. So now what's going on?
I don't know what's going on over at first base, but Prince Fielder was getting into it with Tim Timmons over there.
Yeah.
Finally, Prince sort of waved him off. It's hard to understand what that might be all about. Brewers are winning the game by 5, and they just got a pretty nice call there on a 2-1 pitch. And the game is over.
So that was a hesitation call by the home plate umpire on that one. Eric Cooper did not look very sure of himself on that last one. But that's it.
And for the Brewers, that's it for a 6-game losing streak here at Great American Ballpark. They break through and get their first win of this season against the Reds, and tonight was the 5th try. So the rubber game of this series comes your way tomorrow night. We'll have it for you right here on Fox Sports Ohio. Reds Live getting underway at 6:30, and our game coverage beginning at 7 o'clock. And there are tickets available, so why not come on down to the ballpark? It's supposed to be another beautiful night for baseball here in Cincinnati. All right, standing by.